Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're about to drop part 2 of the series of making $1 million offers. This video is absolutely insane. Like I mentioned before, it was created over 1.5 years ago, but the insights, the knowledge, and I guess the value that is found within this video is second to none. So lock in, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the other side. And also, disclaimer, click the link in the description and join my free community where we're dropping insights daily, scripts, resources, whatever you guys need, we're building and sending there for you guys to implement and use. So you guys are going to basically understand the fundamental frameworks for turning a service into an infrastructure and the steps that I would personally take if I was to do that. And you guys are probably wondering, well, who are all these men on my screen? Actually, pause. That is crazy. Who are all these business owners on my screen? Let's just stick with that. You know, they've got 3 things in common, guys. Number 1 is that they're at the top of their market for their respective niche. Number 2 is they're all clearing over 200K per month. Some are even touching 600K. And number 3 is that they're all selling an infrastructure-based offer. And I think the lowest ticket that I could find personally is being sold around 8K. Most of these guys have different, tiers in what they're offering. So imagine the lowest tier for one of these guys is 8K. Which is insane. Like, you guys can only imagine ever selling a product or a system or something that's worth 8K upfront plus a percentage on the back end. But if we break it down more specifically, you look at Jeremy Pogue, who's currently selling a client acquisition infrastructure. He's making 200K plus a month. You look at Trey, he's currently selling a coaching infrastructure. He's at 200K plus a month. You look at this guy right here, and you guys are probably thinking, well, these are coaches and consultants. How does this apply to agency owners? Well, this guy right here, he's selling a wood mill infrastructure, a marketing infrastructure to wood mill businesses, and he's making 200K plus a month. Like, what are we even talking about here? I didn't even know that wood mill businesses was a thing. And he scaled to 150K in 90 days, in 3 months. And he was selling a 15K infrastructure. It's absolutely insane, guys. But once you understand that there's a direct correlation between making hundreds of thousands of dollars and selling infrastructures, that is when you begin to win. But instead of choosing to listen to not only me, but actual people that are out there doing it, it just changes your perspective. Like, I can sit here and I can speak to you guys about the importance of selling infrastructures. But when you start realizing that the guys that are at the top of their game is currently doing it, and that is the shortcut to making the 200, 400, 600K a month, that is when it starts to internalize the importance of you guys doing this as well. You would rather go and struggle to sell a 1.5K retainer than sell a 10K upfront offer. It doesn't make sense. Why struggle and try to justify how important your service is to business owners that simply don't care, instead of selling a 10K infrastructure and saying, look, I'm going to be solving all your problems. Guys, it's easier to sell 10K upfront than it is to sell a 1.5K retainer. And if it's something that you guys disagree with, go argue with the top 1%ers in the space. Ask anyone that has made substantial amounts of money. When it comes to selling leads and booked appointments in local businesses, ask them what is easier, a 10K upfront system that solves all their problems, or a 1.5K leads and booked appointments offer, and they will tell you. And I'm not going to sit here and argue with you guys because I know it to be true. And in case you guys have been living underneath a rock, let me educate you guys on the current landscape of the industry that you guys are currently in. So it's you versus the 1%ers. Let's meet John. So John is currently selling a commoditized service, leads and booked appointments. So this is what his service really looks like. He's easily replaceable. He's selling low ticket. He's got disgusting profit margins. He's got 0 leverage. And that is a visual representation of that exact statement, right? He's chasing clients. He's hustling against everyone else in the industry offering the exact same services. And it's hard for him. Versus the 1%ers who's literally floating around, bridging the entire gap for their clients, and clients are chasing them. John is out here grinding to chase clients, and these 1%ers have clients chasing them. I want to zoom in a little bit so you guys can really get to grips with these diagrams and stuff. Anyway, number 2, local business owners' IQ have increased drastically. And that's not an insult to them, but this is what they're now thinking, guys. They now realize that it's not worth paying a retainer to solve 1 or 2 problems. When you're approaching a business owner and you're saying leads and booked appointments, they're seeing this in their head. They're thinking, why should I pay 4 figures a month to solve the front end, but I don't actually close any of those guys because of all these problems that are occurring on the back end. Business owners no longer want to pay thousands of dollars every single month to fix their input of their internal mechanism if they still struggle with everything on the back end. Look at your agency for a second. Guys, if I said to you, pay me $2,000 every single month to solve 2 out of the 7 problems with your agency, would you do it? Let's just have a moment of silence there. Would you do that? Would you let me charge you guys $2K a month to solve 2 out of the 7 problems? No, you wouldn't. So why then are you taking this approach when it comes to local businesses? You cannot blame a local business owner for not signing with your agency if you're only bridging a small portion of the gap and they still struggle with so many other problems in the back end. This meme is honestly the epitome of agency owners that I speak to commonly, right? We will bring you leads and booked appointments. That's what you guys look like to these guys. You know, I've told you guys a story already. Most of the people I speak to, they tell me what their sales calls go like. It's never a case of them being able to pitch their service. It's a case of them having to justify what makes them different from the agency owner that the business owner spoke to before them. You guys are a commodity. You're easily replaceable. I've got a younger brother that's 15 years old. I can literally get him to wake up today, come home from school, choose an agency name, find a media buyer on Upwork, and now he's competing on the same level as you. The barrier to entry is literally nothing. It's nothing. So you cannot continue to be a commodity. When you bear that mindset in mind, after seeing the ridiculous difference between studying the 1% and the 99%, John became sick. He became sick of hustling to sign clients. He became sick of lowering his prices to sign clients. He became sick of trying to justify why his services were worth it. He became sick of spending hours crafting scripts to not even be read, but he simply became sick of being a commodity. And for the most part, most of you guys can relate because John's story is the reality of yours. Everything that I spoke to, I want you guys to understand that John wasn't a made up character. John is the average agency owner, and most likely John is you. And that's okay because this is where the market has been going, and it's taken someone to understand what the 1%ers are doing and relay it in a way for you guys to understand and actually implement. If you are continuing to sell a commoditized service like leisure booked appointments, it's only a matter of time before you start running your agency into the ground if you haven't done that already. But what John realized was he wanted better. He deserved better. So he jumped in the incubator and he learned the insights, frameworks, and principles needed to pull off an 8 to 15K infrastructure. After doing that, here are some of the actionable insights that John actually learned from being in that incubator process. Number 1, you get paid in accordance to the value that you provide. As you guys can see from this ladder, the price that you charge is directly proportionate to the value that you guys are providing, whether it's in your system or to that business. Or in other words, John realized that if he wanted to charge more for his infrastructure, he had to solve more problems. However, some problems are more valuable than others, which means finding a solution to it constitutes to you providing more value, which means you're going to be able to charge more money. As you guys can see, maybe the lead flow issue is only worth 2K, but maybe a CRM is only worth 1K. But if you can solve the appointment setting and the no-show issue, that might be worth 3K. So depending on the problems that you guys are solving and adding to your infrastructure will directly constitute to the amount of value that you guys are providing. So the actionable step that John took, he started to identify the problems his target audience struggled with and began creating mechanisms, aka solutions, to add to his infrastructure. For every solution identified and created, it equals the increase in the infrastructure price, which is essentially what we just spoke about. So what he did was he literally wrote down all of the problems, the client failure scenarios that his clients could potentially experience, and he created a mechanism to avoid that. He then made sure that the delivery process was as done for you as possible. Yes, you guys can make done with you solutions or do it yourself solutions, but that requires your work. The reason why you want to step away from services is because it requires your energy and time to produce an outcome. You want to have a system that once it's placed, it doesn't need you anymore. That is why you guys can scale a disgusting degree when you're selling infrastructures, because once you place that system within their business, it takes 2 hours to set up and then you could go into the next client. When you're running services, it's back and forth communication, it's the expectations, it's the relationship, all these different factors that ultimately no one cares about. It's a waste of time and it's very hard to scale. Can you scale 100%? You want to be at the point where you're a 1%er. The reason why these guys can routinely make 600K a month is because their time isn't focused on putting or producing an output. Their system is. After he did this, he now had an ideal infrastructure that he could potentially build for his clients. Whether or not he can fulfill or create those mechanisms right now, it didn't matter. He had an infrastructure goal set. Now it was time to start building. Number two, remember, these are actionable insights that we're talking about, guys. So the first actionable insight was understanding that the more problems he solved, he got paid for. So he created an ideal infrastructure so he can identify all the potential problems he can solve, so that as he goes and solves them, he's going to be adding more value to his infrastructure. And number two is, all you have is all you need. And this is what you guys are going to really want to listen to, because a lot of the time people think that they need to go and create all of these solutions to all their clients' problems. No, what you guys have right now, and this is what this video is about, it's about taking what you currently have, that service, that leads and booked appointment system that you guys have, and turning it into an infrastructure. And one of John's mentors, this handsome young fellow that looks like this, told him this, right? So this is not me making this up. This is what this I can't even be serious anymore. I can't even be serious anymore, but obviously the mentor is me. And the funny thing is, I love creating these videos, guys, because I know what's coming next. So I'm already started laughing before I even say it. But anyway, this is what this handsome mentor said to him. If I say so myself, of course. Everyone has at least a 3K infrastructure if they just broke down their current service and turned it into an infrastructure. This is what you guys are going to want to keep replaying back again until you understand what I'm about to do next. So let's jump into it. That's exactly what John went and did. He broke down his service into individual. He broke down his service into individual components. I cannot stress enough. Most of you guys watching this video need to look at your service, break it apart, and rebuild it. You might just be sitting on an infrastructure with decent pricing potential. Like John, understand that the days of selling booked appointments and leads are over. When you look at what you're offering in the leads and booked appointment service, what you guys will find is there is so many components that comprise of that service that you guys can piece together and create an infrastructure. For example, let's remember, John was only offering leads and booked appointments, yet he had a media buy component, some AI aspects, some sales training and scripts, some ad campaign insights, reminder flows, appointment setters, CRMs, snapshots, internal notifications, nurturing sequence. So he had all of these components, yet he labeled it as leads and booked appointments. And most of you guys are sitting on an infrastructure with decent pricing. Actually, let me tell you a story. And he won't mind me even saying this. I think, let me not say his name anyway. I jumped on a value call with this guy, and he was basically looking to build infrastructures from his services. I said, okay, cool, bro. What is it that you're offering right now? When I tell you this guy presented a 4-page Google Doc worth of, actually, there's so many things I want to say, but let's continue. Either adapt or become extinct. Well, Shamar, once I break my service down, what is next? Well, let me explain to you. Let's crunch the psychology behind this transition. Remember, this was John's initial offer he was offering and selling as a monthly retainer for 1.5K to solve local businesses' leads and booked appointments issue. This is exactly what he was doing before, but since he broke his components down, repackaged it in a way that can be presented as an infrastructure, what you realize is his service could easily have been turned into an infrastructure if the packaging was correct. Now, when you look at his infrastructure, he's got insights about AI. He's got insights about sales training, nurturing sequences, creatives, targeting, copy, scripts for different processes. He's got talent that can be placed within the business, appointment setters, media buyers, the systems. He's got CRMs, the workflows and automations, the lead qualification systems, the KP, it's a real system that can be turned into an infrastructure. And if you guys don't think about things like this, you will fail to make that transition. And as I said before, you either adapt or you become extinct. The problem with many of you is, and you guys need to understand this, because I want to continue the story that I just started before, and I'm going to bring it to this stage right here and it'll all make sense. Like John, most of you guys have immense value in the service that you're offering with ample components. The problem with all of you is you're using the same sales angle. Shamar, what do you mean? It doesn't matter how much value your service can provide. Why? Because you're going to be put in the same box as everyone else because of the angle you're taking when you're trying to pitch your services. So I'll continue the story now. So this guy that I was speaking to, he had 4 pages worth of resources, components, aspects regarding his service. And then I asked him, okay, what's the sales angle you're using? He said leads and booked appointments. I said, bro, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And you guys are probably wondering, well, Shamar, what's the point you're trying to make here? And I'll explain it here, guys. So you've got an example agency owner number 1, and you've got example agency owner number 2. With this guy, you can see he's got ample components with his service, ample components. And you've got this guy who's only got 4 components, but they're using the same sales angle. They're going to bring you 10 booked appointments, 5 booked appointments, and same for agency owner number 2. Despite the difference in actual value, the perceived value will be the same because business owners will automatically put you in a box. What I'm saying is most of you guys are sitting on an 8 to 15K infrastructure. You're providing immense value. There's so many components and intricacies with the service that you're offering, but because you're presenting it as leads and booked appointments, business owners will put you inside a box without actually seeing the value that you can provide. And that is why you're so frustrated, because you know you can provide immense value, but when you're taking the same sales angle, you're going to be put in a box the same as someone else who's doing half of the work, even a quarter of the work, maybe even 10% of the work that you're actually doing. I'm going to say this again. Despite the difference in actual value, the perceived value will be the same. Business owners will put you in a box. Look how happy this business owner is to put you in a box, and you're foolishly just accepting. You're foolishly just accepting it. Business owners are excited when they hear leads and booked appointments because what do they think? They've been burnt by an agency in the past. It's not worth it. Cool, let me package this guy up and shift him to the left. Do better, guys, man. Do better. Just look how happy he is. Just look at the smile on his face. As soon as he reads or hears, I can bring you yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. He's already planning on putting the box. No, he's already planning the box he's going to put you in. Understand this, and if there's anything you guys take away from this video, let it be this. It matters more about the angle you use when selling than it does about what's actually being sold. I'm going to say that again. It matters more about the angle that you use when you're selling than it does about what's actually being sold. The sales angle opens the opportunity for you to sell, not the offer. Because you can say you can bring someone 10 booked appointments, 100 leads. But if everyone else is doing that and that becomes a commodity, that's not going to open the door anymore. The sales angle is the angle you take when you're selling. This is what people don't talk about. Let's continue. Ultimately, John will be offering practically the same components because all he did was turn his service into an infrastructure. He is only going to need 2 things to turn it into an infrastructure. Number 1, he needs to make sure every component that is used, a part of his service, needs to either be turned into a done for you, done with you, or do it yourself solution. The more done for you, the better, because once you place it, you don't need to do anything else. You want to alleviate all the stress from the potential client and basically turn it into a system. And number 2, he needs to create a new sales angle, out with the old, in with the new. I want to touch on this point here so you guys really understand what it is that I'm speaking about. So let's say, for example, you have a sales script. You can either give the sales script to the client, and that makes it do it yourself because he's going to have to go through the process of, you know, learning the sales script. He's going to have to go through the process of testing it out, practicing it. Or you guys can give that sales script to a closer, train them, and then place that closer within their business. Now it takes that component from being do it yourself to being done for you because the closer will be doing the work. That is what I mean. Look at your service, figure out the components. Are they done for you, done with you, or do it yourself? Can you take the do it yourself components and turn them into a done for you solution? If the answer is yes, you're going to have a killer infrastructure on your hands. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. This me, man. Okay, Shamar, so how do I come up with a new sales angle? Very good question. I want to say this one more time so it hits home. It matters more about the angle you use when selling than it does about what's actually being sold. Killer, guys. Alex Hormozi shouldn't create a book on the best $100 million offers. He should have created a book on $100 million sales angles. Because ultimately, like I said, it doesn't matter what you're offering if the sales angle doesn't open the door for you to sell it. If you can't offer it, it doesn't matter what you're offering. It doesn't matter, guys. Well, let's see what John's already done. So he's done about 5 things. He's accepted that he was a part of the 99% that are a commoditized agency owner. He elevated his thinking and he desired a new leverage way of running his agency. He highlighted as many problems as he can identify within his niche, and he created associated solutions. Remember, you don't need to create those solutions yet. You just need to have a plan of what you want that infrastructure to potentially look like one day. Number 4, he broke his service down into components and he recreated them into an infrastructure. And number 5, he made sure as many of his components were done for you as possible. Because why? We don't want to trade our energy and time for an outcome. We want to put our energy and time into creating a system, but it doesn't require our energy and time going forward. Implementing these 5 things, guys, changes the potential for your agency in the next 12 months. But what is he going to do next? He's going to use a unique sales angle that leaves little to no room for clients to say no. Going to create a pricing structure and strategy to use to leverage to buy more mechanisms to add to his infrastructure, increasing the value of his price, basically bringing the ideal infrastructure to life. And number 3 is going to create a retention strategy. He doesn't want to just charge up front one time and get paid for 3 months on the back end. He wants to have a residual way of getting income beyond placing that system within their business. When you understand these 3 things, that changes your tomorrow. So this changes your next 12 months, these 5 components here. But these 3 things, yeah, if you understand these things, that will change your tomorrow. The 2 biggest objections that agency owners get are based on their sales angle. So what problem are they actually solving and their price? Now imagine learning the frameworks for both of these things, then applying that alongside the whole infrastructure framework. If you guys don't make an additional 100,000 in the next 12 months, that would be criminal. You cannot tell me that you have an infrastructure that solves the majority of their problem, you have a killer sales angle, and you know how to justify the pricing. How can you not make 100,000 in 12 months? Bearing in mind the guy that's working with woodmill businesses did 150 in 3, selling a 15K infrastructure. It would be a disservice to everything that you've done in the agency space if you do not go ahead and understand those 3 fundamental things to make 100,000, guys. It's almost impossible. I want to say it's almost impossible. It would be criminal. The key lessons that John learned along his transition to being a part of the 1% was this. Lesson number 1, everyone who's currently selling a service has the potential to turn it into an infrastructure. Lesson number 2, when it comes to repackaging my service into an infrastructure, I need to turn as many of my components into done for you as possible. The more that are done for you, the less work you have to fulfill in order to bring your infrastructure to life. Number 3, it matters more about the sales angle than it does about the offer. The sales angle determines your positioning, whether you're a part of the 99% or whether you're a part of the 1%. An offer determines the outcome. The sales angle determines whether or not you have the opportunity to deliver that outcome. Pause it here, read that again until it hits home. Does that make sense, guys? But let's continue. So the 3 aspects that we need to touch on is this. We need to create a unique sales angle to create selling opportunities. We need to create a pricing structure and strategy. And we also need to create a retention strategy. Every client that we sign, we want to make sure that we can get some money on the back end so our hard work isn't basically lost in the first 3 to 4 months once our program ends. We want to make sure that we can make at least 2 to 5K from them over the course of 12 months, 24 months. And that is what I'm going to be breaking down for you guys as well. The framework for creating unique sales angles that sell. Listen closely. Or do you, guys? Or should I leave that source for another day? Should I leave that source for another day? I'm going to pause this video here and I'm going to think about it and I'll be back, boys. All right, guys. So I'm back from my little hiatus and this is what I've decided, right? So today we have covered some of the fundamental agency shifting concepts that you guys need to understand. And it's already got you guys thinking about 1,000 different things. And it would be a disservice to then drop even more source. This is how I want to leave this video. I just want to walk with a little explosion behind my back. But we'll call this one part 1. We'll call this video here part 1, guys. I don't want you to be overwhelmed with information that you don't end up applying any of it, which is called analysis paralysis. So if you guys always wanted to figure out the word to sort of encapsulate that feeling of consuming so much information and not knowing what to do with it, it's called analysis paralysis. You guys are now equipped with the knowledge to change the next 12 months for your business. What comes next is the insights to change your tomorrow. So I don't know when I'm going to drop part 2, but when that happens, that will be the insights that I'm referring to. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and hopefully you found something valuable from it. Look out for part 3, which is dropping very, very shortly within the next couple of days, and that will be the finale to this entire series. And if you haven't already, like I said before, little disclaimer, join the community. It's free in the description below, and I'll see you guys within it.